Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander viewers should exercise caution when watching this program, as it may contain images of deceased persons.
But first, the Gondwana Link. Founded 14 years ago, it is a community effort to protect and restore the WA southwest bushlands. Since European settlement, our natural plants and animals have been under threat from farming. The project employs Indigenous knowledge of the country to help rebuild the beautiful natural landscapes of WA South. Rachel Osborne reports.
The southwest of Australia is biologically the richest part of the country, being home to over 1,000 animal and plant species. The Gondwana Link stretches over 1,000 kilometres of southwestern Australia's bushland, protecting many of its diverse ecosystems, from the cool high rainfall forests to the semi-arid woodlands and mallee country bordering the Nullarbor Plain. The link, founded 13 years ago by environmentalists, was designed to protect what was left of the land and to restore it back to what it once was. Noongar elder and former boxer Eugene Eddy, who lives in Noongar, is witnessing the changes every day and calls his home on the link the Bush University.
It's becoming more sustainable than ever before, and that's just what we want it to become, a sustainable environment that will actually cater for the wilderness and what belongs to that wilderness society in itself. And there's been so much engagement and reconciliation in coming together with many, many people from all parts of the world over the years that have come and stood hand in hand, side by side, and done justice to the land that was actually down on its knees. That budja is the land, and the budja is the mother that provides for everybody equally. And that budja was on its knees all through this country in the Gondwana Link areas, just like a mother singing out to the heavens for help. I'm down on my knees and I'm begging for an healing to take place.
Originally taken over as farming land, the Gondwana Link has since been reconnecting flora and fauna species that were thought to be extinct. Using traditional Indigenous knowledge and modern resources, the link is proving to be a success. The founder and CEO of the Gondwana Link, Keith Bradby, says he was instantly attracted to the weird and wacky nature of the bush in WA when he first arrived here in 1976.
Our environment is an endless job. You always got to maintain your house. You also got to maintain your country, particularly when it's as damaged as what a lot of ours is. But we think we can substantially complete the link in terms of connecting all the bush back and getting some good management over those areas that had been unmanaged. We can do that 10, maybe another 10, maybe another 15 or so years, if we can keep growing at the rate we've been growing and getting the support.
Keith, who was behind the Gondwana project since day one, says the results are staggering.
And it's great to walk through a bit of bush that, wouldn't have been there otherwise. And it's even better to walk through a bit of bush full of birds and possums and wallabies and stuff that you've also walked through when it was a pretty bare and windswept paddock. So the results we're getting out of the restoration work is quite staggering.
Eugene believes that the link is working and that some animal species are proof of this. An animal that's benefiting from the link is the malleefowl bird, which is a rare species native to Australia and was predicted to be extinct in WA. But now there are signs of a strong future for this bird.
We call him Ngawin, that's his Noongar name, or his Aboriginal name, Ngawin, and he's an incredible little bird because of what, and now he goes about his business developing his home, and until you see it, you don't get to respect it and feel for it the way we should. Then of course the centre part of the nest has got to have a special sort of attention to it because of how fine that material has to be to create this warmth that acts in the capacity of an incubator, if you like. So those little eggs could hatch and they do well.
In 10 to 15 years, Keith and Eugene both predict that the extraordinary nature of South WA will be alive and beautiful, and thanks to the Gondwana Link, there are already signs of this. The malleefowl is just the beginning of what incredible native species will return to call Australia's outback their home.
We're now joined in the studio by Blair Parsons, Director of Conservation for Greening Australia. We also have Eddy, founder and director of Wajon and Associates Environmental Group and owner of the Chingarup Sanctuary in the Gondwana Link. Both organisations are closely related to the project. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
So Blair, what is Greening Australia and what is their involvement in the Gondwana Link?
Well, Greening Australia is one of Australia's largest environmental organisations, and our mission really is one to have healthy landscapes where nature and people thrive. So what that means actually is restoring the landscape, training people in environmental management and land management as well. So in terms of Gondwana Link specifically, Greening Australia has been there for over 10 years and we're undertaking a lot of restoration, putting back the vegetation that has been cleared in the past. We own 3 properties as part of Gondwana Link as well, so we're spending a lot of time restoring those properties, getting vegetation back, getting the fauna back, and then monitoring how good a job we're doing as well. Yeah.
And Blair, the mallee bird is one of the species that's benefiting from the link. What other flora and fauna species are proving that it's working?
There are quite a few actually. There's a few specific examples that are quite interesting. So honey possums and pygmy possums, we're seeing those come back. There's threatened bird species that are coming back. One example is the western whipbird. It's a bird with I think it's got quite a beautiful call, so you certainly know it's there. But, you know, more specifically, it's about the assemblages that we're bringing back. It's not just this species or that species, but we're bringing back whole natural communities into the landscape. We're spending a lot of time monitoring to see how that's working, and Eddy is certainly doing a lot of that as part of the community effort down there. And there's other groups that are working with us, like Bush Heritage Australia, and certainly our friend Eugene Eads down at Now and Up, to really make sure that it's working. Malleefowl's an easy one because they're big and easy to see, but I mean, even the vegetation, we're seeing things pop up in the revegetation that was never planted in the first place. It's coming back independently. So
what we're trying to do is create continuous corridors so that when climate change happens, things that are moving from the inland to the coast have actually got somewhere to go rather than dying out at the edge of where they currently are because there's nothing for them in between. So, for example, one thing we did see was a black honeyeater that typically is out at Meekatharra. That's actually moving south, and we actually heard it in our revegetation.
Oh, wow. So can you, Eddy, explain some of the programs that you're running out there to sustain?
We have a very big program of citizen science. We have many people visit our property. It's because we go there quite often so that we're able to host people. So, for example, we have had a big bird mist netting program where 3,000 birds have been banded and recaptured to determine who lives on the property. We have a program of pit trapping for small vertebrates, like the pygmy possum, like the honey possum, but also spiders, frogs, and lizards. They also settle in the pit traps, and we now have a list of 550 fauna species on the property.
You spoke about working with Uncle Eugene. Blair, do you think working with Noongar communities has helped the environment?
Absolutely. It's a critical component of what's going on at Gondwana Link. So on one of Greening Australia's properties, Now and Up, Uncle Eugene has been working there for many years, and it's allowed him to undertake a whole range of different programs, whether it's to do cultural activities or whether there's some healing there. But we're finding this middle space there that is really cultural and environmental healing happening at the same time. For example, last year we had a program where we were doing cultural revegetation, so we were weaving storylines through the landscape, and that was really motivated by Eugene and his vision for the landscape and healing there. But I think also there's been a lot of opportunity there for the Noongar community to be able to work with us. So when Greening goes and does our revegetation, when we're putting things in the ground, the Noongar community is with us, and they're getting that done. And with their deep environmental knowledge, sort of coupling with the Western knowledge, it's really working well. Yeah.
Eddy, can you tell us what you think the Gondwana Link will achieve in the next 10 to 20 years?
Well, I think what it'll do, and you've touched on this, a greater bond to country. I mean, I feel very attached to country, my country, the country that we've inherited and, you know, care for with the Noongar people. And I'm hoping, and I think that with the continued expansion of Gondwana Link, that'll go to a lot more people. So that's the sort of aesthetic, spiritual aspect. But in physical aspects, I think we'll eventually, in that time, complete the link between the Stirling Range and the Fitzgerald National Park in terms of a complete corridor, whether it's through buying vegetated property or buying current paddock farms and revegetating. So that will set the scene, and it'll be an example for other projects in Australia that Gondwana Link was the initiative and the forerunner of. So it'll set a great example of completion and ability to do what I thought initially was the impossible.
Thank you so much again for joining us here in Noongar Dandri.
My pleasure.
Our pleasure.